Commander Jake Harrison sat at his desk in the big space station called Omega-7. He looked at the screens in front of him. Something was wrong. For 3 whole days, no messages came from Earth, no trade talks, no science reports, no funny videos that humans love to send everywhere. Nothing at all. Jake had worked at this station for 10 years. Every day, Earth sent hundreds of messages to other planets. Humans talked about everything. They shared their music, their movies, their ideas. About science, they even sent pictures of their food and their pets. Other alien races found this strange, but they had gotten used to it. Amy Foster walked into the room. She was young and smart, and she worked with the communication systems. She sat down next to Jake and looked at the empty screens. "Still nothing from Earth?" she asked. Jake shook his head. His coffee had gone cold, but he did not care. 3 days of complete silence. It's like they all just stopped talking. Amy frowned. She had never seen the Earth channels so quiet. Usually there were so many messages that they had to use special computers to sort them all. Now the computers had nothing to do. On another planet far away, Ambassador Zeth-9 was having the same problem. Zeth-9 was not human. He was made of living crystal that could change colors when he felt different emotions. Right now, his crystal body was dark blue, which meant he was worried. His helper, a younger crystal being, came to see him. "Sir, the humans have missed 3 meetings this week. They always come to meetings. What should we do?" Zeth-9 turned even darker blue. He had worked with humans for many years. They were always busy, always talking, always making plans. When humans had problems, they talked about them even more. They asked for help. They shared their troubles with everyone. This silence was not normal. "Send a message to other stations," Zeth-9 told his helper. "Ask if anyone has heard from Earth." The answers came back quickly. No one had heard anything from Earth or any human colony. The big trade ships that usually carried goods between Earth and other worlds had stopped moving. The space stations near Earth were not answering their radios. Jake stood up and walked to the big window of his station. He could see stars everywhere, but he could not see Earth from here. Somewhere out there, billions of humans had gone quiet all at the same time. It did not make sense. "Amy, call Captain Blake," Jake said. "She has humans on her ship. Maybe they know something." Captain Nina Blake was flying her ship near a star called Vega. Her ship was called Starbound, and it had humans and aliens working together. They were studying new planets when Amy's message reached them. Nina was a strong woman, with short brown hair. She had been flying ships for 15 years. When she heard about Earth's silence, she felt scared. Earth was her home. Her family lived there. "Pete, what do you think?" she asked her science officer. Dr. Pete Collins was a smart man who knew a lot about space and stars. He looked at his computers and shook his head. "Captain, this is not normal. Humans don't just stop talking. Something bad has happened." Nina made a decision. "Set course for Earth. We need to go home and see what's wrong." Her crew was worried too. The human members thought about their families. The alien members had worked with humans for years and liked them. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Back on the Crystal World, more reports were coming in. The reptilian hegemony had tried to call Earth about a trade deal. No answer. The bird people had sent messages about a science project. No answer. Even the robot collective, who usually kept to themselves, were asking questions. General Krex was a big reptile with sharp teeth. He was the leader of the reptilian army. He called a meeting with other alien leaders. "The humans were our friends," Krex said, his voice deep and scary. "They helped us fight bad enemies. If something has hurt them, we need to know what it is." The other aliens agreed. Humans were young compared to other races, but they were brave and strong. When there was trouble in the galaxy, humans were always the first to help. They had saved many worlds from pirates and monsters. Now Earth was silent, and everyone was afraid. Jake looked at his screens one more time. Still nothing. He picked up his radio and called other stations. "This is Omega 7. We need to send ships to check on Earth. Something is very wrong." Amy nodded. "I'll prepare the emergency messages. All the alien governments need to know about this." Far away, Nina's ship was flying as fast as it could toward Earth, but they were still many days away. Nina hoped they would not be too late. She hoped Earth was still there. The galaxy had grown used to human voices. Now that those voices were gone, the silence felt heavy and scary. Something terrible had happened, and no one knew what it was. 1 week had passed since Earth went silent. Jake Harrison had not slept well. Every few hours he checked the communication screens, hoping to see a message from Earth. The screens stayed empty. Reports came in from all over the galaxy. The Merchant Guild sent ships to trade with humans, but the ships found nothing. The space stations around Earth's solar system were empty. No lights, no people, no radio signals. It was like everyone had just disappeared. Amy Foster worked day and night, trying to call Earth on different radio frequencies. She used the most powerful transmitters on the station. She sent messages in human language, in alien languages, even in simple math signals that any smart being could understand. Nothing came back. Captain Nina Blake's ship was getting closer to Earth's solar system. Her crew watched the screens as they flew through space. Usually, when they got close to human space, they would see trade ships and passenger ships flying around. There would be radio chatter and navigation signals. Now, they saw nothing. "Captain," called Dr. Pete Collins from his science station, "I'm detecting something strange ahead." Nina walked over to look at his screen. Pete pointed to a line of energy readings that looked very unusual. "What am I looking at?" Nina asked. Pete shook his head. "I'm not sure. It looks like some kind of barrier around the whole solar system. I've never seen energy readings like this before." Nina felt her heart beating faster. "A barrier? What kind of barrier?" "I don't know, Captain. It's not human technology. The energy patterns are completely unknown. On the Crystal World, Ambassador Zeth 9 received the same report from his own ships. His crystal body turned from blue to bright red, which meant he was very alarmed." "A barrier around Earth?" he asked his helper. Who could build such a thing? His helper, whose name was Zeth 12, was young and had never seen anything like this. "Sir, our best scientists are studying the readings. They say the barrier is made of energy that exists in dimensions we can't fully understand." Zeth 9 stood up and walked to his communication device. He needed to call an emergency meeting of all the galaxy's leaders. General Krex received the call on his warship. The big reptile listened to the report, and his eyes grew wide. "A barrier around the entire solar system? That would take incredible power. What enemy has such strength?" The bird people's leader, High Flyer Zara 3, was equally concerned. Her people were excellent pilots and knew space very well. "Our fastest ships have tried to approach the barrier. They report that it's like a wall of pure energy. Nothing can get through." The robot collective's leader, Unit Prime 7, spoke in its mechanical voice. "Our sensors indicate that time itself moves differently near the barrier. This suggests technology far beyond anything in our databases." Nina's ship reached the edge of the solar system first. When they saw the barrier, the whole crew stood in shock. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The barrier looked like a giant soap bubble made of rainbow light, but it covered the entire area where Earth's sun and planets should be. "My God," whispered Nina. "The whole solar system is trapped inside that thing." Pete ran every test he could think of. He fired sensor beams at the barrier. He tried radio signals. He even shot a small probe at it. Everything that touched the barrier simply disappeared, like it had never existed. "Captain, whatever this is, it's not letting anything in or out," Pete reported. "It's a perfect seal." Nina tried to contact Earth through the barrier. She used the strongest radio transmitter on her ship. "Earth, this is Captain Blake on the Starbound. Please respond. We're here to help." Only silence came back. Dr. Frank Miller, the ship's communication expert, tried different approaches. "Captain, I'm sending mathematical signals, basic science data, even music that humans love. If anyone on Earth can hear us, they should respond to something." Hours passed. The crew of Starbound stayed at their stations, trying everything they could think of. Other ships from different alien races arrived and joined the effort. Soon there were dozens of ships floating near the barrier, all trying to find a way to contact Earth. Jake Harrison arrived on a fast military ship. When he saw the barrier, he felt sick to his stomach. Somewhere behind that wall of energy, billions of humans were trapped. His friends, his family, everyone he had ever known from Earth. "Have you tried to break through?" Jake asked Nina when they met on her ship. Nina shook her head. "We fired our strongest weapons at it. The energy just absorbs everything. It's like the barrier is alive and eating whatever we throw at it." More alien leaders arrived. Zeth 9 came on his crystal ship. General Krex brought a war fleet. High Flyer Zara 3 arrived with her fastest scouts. Even Unit Prime 7 came with ships full of advanced robots. They all stared at the barrier and felt helpless. In all our years of space travel, we have never seen anything like this, said Zeth 9. His crystal body was now purple, which meant he was deeply sad. General Krex growled. "If this is an attack on our human friends, we must find the enemy and destroy them." "But who is the enemy?" asked High Flyer Zara 3. "What force could build such a barrier?" Unit Prime 7's mechanical voice was calm but worried. "Our analysis suggests this technology comes from beings far more advanced than any known race in the galaxy." Nina looked at the barrier and felt anger growing inside her. "Whatever is happening to Earth, we need to find a way to help them. Humans would never abandon us if we were in trouble." The alien leaders agreed. Humans had always been the first to help when other races faced danger. Now it was time to return that friendship, but as they watched the barrier pulse with strange colors, they all wondered the same thing. Was Earth under attack, or was something even worse happening inside that wall of energy? 2 weeks had passed since the barrier appeared around Earth's solar system. The alien fleet had grown bigger every day. Ships came from every corner of the galaxy, all wanting to help their human friends. Captain Nina Blake had not left her post at the communication station. She sent messages to the barrier every hour, hoping someone on Earth would hear her. Her crew was tired, but no one wanted to give up. Dr. Pete Collins discovered something new about the barrier. "Captain, I've been studying the energy patterns. Time is moving differently inside that barrier." Nina turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" Pete showed her his readings on a computer screen. "For us out here, 2 weeks have passed, but inside the barrier, time might be moving much faster or much slower. For the people on Earth, it could feel like years have gone by, or maybe only a few minutes." This news scared everyone. If time was moving faster inside the barrier, then the people on Earth might age and die before help could reach them. If time was moving slower, then Earth might be frozen in one moment forever. Jake Harrison called a meeting of all the alien leaders. They gathered on Nina's ship because it was the closest to the barrier. "We need to find a way through that barrier," Jake said. "Every day we wait, our friends on Earth might be suffering." General Krex hit the table with his big reptile hand. "My strongest weapons cannot break through. What enemy has such power?" Ambassador Zeth 9's crystal body was almost black with worry. "Perhaps we should contact the Ancient Ones. They are the oldest race in the galaxy. They might know something about this technology." High Flyer Zara 3 nodded her bird-like head. "Yes, the Ancient Ones have seen many strange things in their long lives." Unit Prime 7's robot body made clicking sounds as it thought. "The Ancient Ones rarely speak to younger races, but this situation is unusual enough that they might help. Before Anyone could send a message to the Ancient Ones. Something happened that changed everything. Dr. Frank Miller was at his communication station when every screen on his panel suddenly lit up. "Captain Blake, I'm getting something!" Nina ran to his station. All the alien leaders crowded around to see. The barrier was pulsing with new colors, and a weak signal was coming through. At first, it was just static and noise. Then slowly, a human voice became clear. "This is Admiral Robert Hayes of Earth Defense Command." "Can anyone hear this transmission?" Nina grabbed the microphone. "Admiral Hayes, this is Captain Blake outside the barrier. We can hear you. What's happening on Earth?" The signal was weak and kept cutting in and out. "Captain Blake, good to hear a friendly voice. Earth is under attack. We are fighting an enemy unlike anything we have ever seen." Jake leaned toward the microphone. "Admiral, this is Jake Harrison from Omega-7. What kind of enemy? Who is attacking you?" There was a long pause, then Admiral Hayes spoke again, and his voice sounded very tired. "The enemy comes from spaces between dimensions. They are not physical beings like us. They can change reality itself. We call them the void entities." The alien leaders looked at each other with fear. None of them had heard of such creatures before. Nina asked, "Admiral, how can we help? We have ships from every race in the galaxy here." "Negative, Captain. Do not attempt to break through the barrier. I repeat, do not try to break the barrier. We created it to keep the void entities from spreading to the rest of the galaxy." This news shocked everyone. The humans had built the barrier themselves. They were not trapped inside. They were keeping something terrible from getting out. "General," Krex growled, "humans built this barrier? How?" Admiral Hayes continued, "We discovered the void entities 3 weeks ago when they tried to enter our dimension through a hole in space near Earth. At first, we tried to fight them with normal weapons, but bullets and lasers cannot hurt beings that exist in multiple dimensions at once." Dr. Pete Collins asked, "How are you fighting them now?" "We had to adapt quickly. Our scientists worked with our military to create new weapons and defenses. The barrier is powered by every nuclear reactor on Earth. It keeps the void entities contained in our solar system so they cannot spread to other worlds." Amy Foster, who had been listening quietly, asked, "Admiral, are you winning the fight?" Another long pause. "We are learning. The void entities feed on life energy, but humans seem to be resistant to their attacks in ways we don't understand. We are not just surviving. We are adapting to fight them." Jake felt proud of his human friends, but also worried. "How long can you hold out?" "Unknown. We are changing, Captain Harrison. Fighting these entities is changing us in ways we never expected. We can see and feel things we never could before. Some of our soldiers can now fight in multiple dimensions at once." Zeth-9 stepped forward. "Admiral Hayes, this is Ambassador Zeth-9 of the Crystal Collective. Is there anything we can do to help from out here?" "Ambassador, thank you for coming. All of you, thank you. Right now, the best help you can give us is to stay away from the barrier. If we fail, if the void entities break free, you must warn the galaxy and prepare for war." The signal started to fade. "Admiral Hayes, are you still there?" Nina called. His voice came through weakly. "Signal breaking up. We'll try to contact again soon. Tell the galaxy that Earth fights not just for ourselves, but for everyone. We will not let these creatures spread. Hayes out." The communication ended, leaving the alien fleet in silence. Nina stared at the barrier with new understanding. Her human friends were not victims. They were heroes, fighting a battle to save the galaxy. General Krex spoke first. "Humans are braver than I thought. They face an enemy that can change reality itself, and they still fight." Zeth-9's crystal. Body glowed with admiration. "They built that barrier to protect us, not themselves. They could have run away, but they stayed to fight." Unit Prime 7 processed this information. If humans are adapting to fight multidimensional enemies, they are evolving faster than any race in recorded history. Jake looked at the barrier and felt both pride and fear. His friends on Earth were becoming something new, something more than human, just to protect the galaxy. We stay here, Jake decided. We watch the barrier and wait for their next message. If they need us, we'll be ready. 3 weeks had passed since Admiral Hayes's first message. The alien fleet outside the barrier had grown even larger. Scientists from every race worked together, studying the strange energy readings and trying to understand what was happening inside. Dr. Pete Collins had barely slept in days. He spent all his time analyzing tiny pieces of data that sometimes leaked through small gaps in the barrier. These data fragments were like puzzle pieces, and Pete was slowly putting them together to see the bigger picture. "Captain Blake," Pete called out, his voice excited. "You need to see this right away." Nina hurried to his station. Pete's screens showed charts and graphs that looked very complex. "What am I looking at?" Nina asked. Pete pointed to different parts of his data. "These are energy signatures from the void entities. I've been collecting tiny fragments of information for weeks. Look at this pattern." Nina studied the screen, but the information was too technical for her to understand. "Explain it in simple words, Pete." "These creatures are not from our universe," Pete said. "They come from empty spaces between dimensions. They consume life energy from entire worlds, and they've been doing it for millions of years." Pete brought up more data on his screen. "Captain, I found references to other civilizations that disappeared throughout galactic history. The Eternal Empire that vanished 5,000 years ago. The Crystal Builders who left empty cities 10,000 years ago. The void entities destroyed them all." Nina felt cold as she understood what Pete was telling her. "You're saying these creatures have been killing entire civilizations for thousands of years?" "Yes, but here's the strange part. Every other civilization was completely destroyed within days, but humans have been fighting them for almost a month now." Jake Harrison came to Pete's station after hearing about the discovery. With him came Ambassador Zeth 9, whose crystal body was glowing bright white with shock. "Dr. Collins," Zeth 9 said, "are you certain about this data?" Pete nodded. "I've checked it many times. The void entities attack by entering a star system and feeding on all life energy. They usually finish consuming a civilization in less than a week, but the humans are still fighting after 4 weeks. General Krex arrived with several of his military experts. "How is this possible? What makes humans different?" Pete showed them more data. "That's what I've been trying to figure out." "From what?" "I can tell. The void entities attack by forcing their way into a being's mind and draining their life force, but human minds seem to be resistant to this attack. Unit Prime 7 processed this information with its advanced robot brain. Dr. Collins, are you suggesting that humans have a natural defense against these entities?" "More than that," Pete said. "The data shows that humans are not just resisting the attacks, they're adapting to fight back. Look at these energy readings from the past week." Pete showed them new charts. Human soldiers inside the barrier are generating energy patterns I've never seen before. It's like they're learning to exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Amy Foster had been listening to the conversation. "You mean humans are evolving?" "Yes, but very quickly," Pete said. "What should take millions of years of evolution is happening in just weeks. The fight against the void entities is forcing humans to become something new. High flyer." Zara 3 flew her ship close to the barrier to get better readings. Her bird-like people had the best eyes in the galaxy, and she could see details that others missed. "I can see flashes of light through the barrier," she reported. "But they're not normal light. They exist in colors that shouldn't be possible." Dr. Frank Miller had been working on improving their communication system. Suddenly, his equipment picked up another transmission from inside the barrier. "This is Admiral Hayes. Can anyone hear me?" Nina grabbed the microphone. "Admiral, we're here. How are things on Earth?" Admiral Hayes's voice sounded different than before. It was stronger, but also strange, like he was speaking from very far away. "Captain Blake, the situation has changed. We have learned much about our enemy." "What have you learned?" Jake asked. "The void entities have destroyed many civilizations before us, but they made one mistake with humans. They attacked Earth directly, instead of slowly draining our energy from a distance." General Krex leaned forward. "What difference does that make? When they attacked us directly, we could fight back and learn from them. Every battle teaches us more about how they exist and how to hurt them. We are adapting to their methods of attack." Dr. Pete Collins asked, "Admiral, our sensors show that humans inside the barrier are generating unusual energy patterns. What's happening to you?" Admiral Hayes paused before answering. "Dr. Collins, we are changing. The fight against these entities has awakened abilities we never knew we had. Some of our soldiers can now see into other dimensions. Others can exist in multiple places at once." This news amazed and worried the alien listeners. Nina asked, "Are you still human?" "We are more than human now," Admiral Hayes replied. "We have become what we needed to become to protect the galaxy. The void entities thought Earth would be easy. Prey, but they picked the wrong species to attack." Sergeant Danny Cooper's voice suddenly came through the communication. "This is Sergeant Cooper, 3rd Marine Division. Admiral Hayes asked me to explain what we're experiencing down here." "Go ahead, Sergeant," Jake said. Danny's voice was calm but intense. "Sir, we call it reality combat. The void entities can change the laws of physics around them. Gravity might suddenly reverse, or time might slow down in one area. Our Marines have learned to adapt to these changes instantly." "How do you fight enemies that can change reality?" General Krex asked. "We learned to change with them, sir. Our minds became flexible enough to accept any reality. Now we can fight them in their own dimension while still protecting our dimension." Ambassador Zeth 9 was amazed. "Sergeant Cooper, you are describing abilities that our oldest races never developed." "Yes, sir. Humans seem to have a natural ability to adapt that other species don't have. The void entities accidentally helped us unlock this ability by attacking us." Admiral Hayes came back on the communication. "The important thing is that we are winning. The void entities are losing energy and becoming weaker. We estimate that we can eliminate them completely within 2 more weeks." Nina felt hope for the first time in weeks. "Admiral, when this is over, will you be able to return to normal?" "Captain, we don't think we can return to what we were before. This experience has changed humanity forever. But that might be for the best. The galaxy needs protectors who can fight threats that exist beyond normal reality." The transmission began to fade. "Signal weakening again. We'll contact soon. Hayes out." As the communication ended, the alien fleet remained silent. They had learned that Earth was not just surviving an impossible attack. Humanity was evolving into something the galaxy had never seen before. 5 weeks had passed since Earth went silent. The barrier around the solar system was changing. Instead of the steady rainbow colors it had shown before, it now pulsed with bright flashes of white and gold light. Captain Nina Blake watched the barrier from her ship's bridge. Every few minutes, the entire barrier would flash so brightly that it hurt to look at it directly. Dr. Pete Collins said these flashes meant the final battle was happening inside. "Captain," Dr. Frank Miller called from his communication station. "I'm receiving multiple signals from inside the barrier. It sounds like a lot of activity." Nina hurried to his station. Through the speakers, they could hear the sounds of what Admiral Hayes had called reality combat. There were strange noises that didn't sound like normal explosions or weapons. Instead, they heard sounds like reality itself was being torn apart and rebuilt. Jake Harrison's voice came through on the emergency channel. "All ships, stay at safe distance from the barrier. The energy readings are off the charts." Ambassador Zeth 9's crystal body was glowing bright yellow with excitement and worry. "The barrier is becoming unstable. Something major is happening inside." General Krex had his war fleet ready for action, even though they couldn't help. "If the barrier falls and hostile entities escape, we must be ready to fight." "High Flyer, Zara 3 flew her fastest scout ship as close to the barrier as she dared. I can see shapes moving inside the barrier, but they don't look like normal ships or people. They look like pure energy. Unit Prime 7 was calculating the energy output of the barrier. The power being generated inside that barrier equals the output of 1,000 stars. Whatever battle is occurring is beyond anything in our databases. Suddenly, Dr. Frank Miller's equipment detected a strong transmission coming from deep inside the solar system. This is Admiral Hayes to all ships outside. The barrier! The final assault has begun! Nina grabbed the microphone. Admiral, what's your status? Admiral Hayes's voice sounded different again. It had become deeper and seemed to echo, as if he was speaking from multiple places at once. Captain Blake, we are pushing the void entities back to their entry point, near Jupiter. They are fighting desperately, but they are losing. How many casualties do you have? Jake asked, worried about his human friends. We have learned that death and life work differently when fighting multidimensional entities. Some of our people who appeared to die have returned changed. They now exist partly in other dimensions and help us fight from there. This news shocked the alien listeners. The humans were not just adapting to fight the void entities. They were transcending normal existence. Sergeant Danny Cooper's voice came through the communication. This is Sergeant Cooper. I'm leading the final assault. Team, we're about to enter the void entity's main portal. Sergeant, General Krex called out, describe what you see. Danny's voice was calm despite the incredible situation. Sir, the portal looks like a crack in reality itself. Through it, I can see the void between dimensions where these creatures come from. It's completely empty. No stars, no planets, no life. Just hungry darkness. Dr. Pete Collins monitored the energy readings as the battle continued. Captain, the barrier is starting to change color. It's becoming more transparent. Nina looked at the barrier and saw that Pete was right. She could now see faint shapes of planets and space inside the solar system. Admiral Hayes spoke again. All ships, prepare for barrier shutdown. We are sealing the portal permanently. Admiral, are you certain the threat is eliminated? Ambassador Zeth-9 asked. The void entities in our dimension have been destroyed. We are now closing their entry point forever. No more of these creatures can enter our universe through this portal. Sergeant Danny's voice came through one more time. Portal is sealed, Admiral. The void is cut off from our reality. Excellent work, Sergeant. All units, begin barrier shutdown procedures. The aliens watched in amazement as the barrier around Earth's solar system began to fade. Like a soap bubble popping in slow motion, the energy wall dissolved and disappeared. For the first time in over a month, they could see the sun and planets of the human solar system. But what they saw surprised them. Every planet looked different. Earth glowed with a soft blue light that hadn't been there before. Mars had new structures on its surface that seemed to be built from crystallized energy. Even the sun appeared to burn with a slightly different color. Ships began emerging from the inner solar system, but these were not the same human ships the aliens remembered. The new ships moved in ways that seemed to ignore normal physics. They could appear in one place and instantly be somewhere else. Admiral Hayes's ship approached the alien fleet. When Nina saw it on her screen, she gasped. The ship looked like it was made of light and metal at the same time. It was solid, but also somehow transparent. Admiral Hayes requesting permission to come aboard Captain Blake's ship, came the transmission. Permission granted, Admiral, Nina replied, though she felt nervous about meeting her old friend after his transformation. Admiral Hayes materialized on Nina's bridge without using a transport shuttle. One moment the space was empty, and the next moment he was standing there. He looked like the same person Nina remembered, but his eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire universes. Admiral, Nina said carefully, you look different. Admiral. Hayes smiled, and when he did, small points of light flickered around him. Captain Blake, The battle against the void entities changed all of humanity. We can now perceive and exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Jake Harrison, who had been Admiral Hayes's friend for many years, asked, "Robert, are you still human?" Admiral Hayes considered the question. "We are what humanity needed to become to protect the galaxy from threats that exist beyond normal reality. We are still human at our core, but we have evolved beyond what we were." General Krex looked at Admiral Hayes with respect and a little fear. "Can you return to your previous form?" "We could, but we choose not to. The galaxy needs guardians who can fight enemies like the void entities. We have become those guardians." Dr. Pete Collins asked, "Admiral, what other threats are out there?" Admiral Hayes's expression became serious. "Now that we can see into other dimensions, we have detected several hostile entities that threaten our universe. The void entities were just the first. Humanity will continue to evolve and adapt to face each new threat." Nina felt proud of her species, but also sad. "Will we ever see normal humans again?" Admiral Hayes smiled gently. "Captain, children born on Earth after this transformation will have abilities beyond what we developed, but they will still laugh, love, and dream like humans always have. We remain human in spirit, even as we grow beyond human limitations." The barrier was completely gone now, and Earth was no longer silent. But the galaxy would never be the same, because humanity had become its eternal protectors against threats from beyond reality itself. 3 days after the barrier fell, Captain Nina Blake received an invitation that changed everything. Admiral Hayes asked her and representatives from all alien races to visit Earth and see what humanity had become. Nina felt nervous as her ship approached Earth. The planet looked beautiful but strange. Blue light surrounded it like a gentle aurora, and she could see structures in space around Earth that definitely hadn't been there before. "Captain," Dr. Pete Collins said from his science station, "I'm reading energy signatures from Earth that I've never seen before. The entire planet is generating power at levels that should be impossible." Dr. Frank Miller was monitoring communications. "Captain, I'm picking up thousands of messages from Earth, but they're not using radio waves. They're sending thoughts directly through space." Nina tried to understand what Frank meant. "Thoughts through space? The humans have learned to communicate telepathically across vast distances. They're talking to each other using their minds instead of technology." Jake Harrison's ship flew alongside Nina's as they entered Earth's atmosphere. Through the radio, his voice sounded amazed. "Nina, look at the cities." Nina looked down at Earth's surface and couldn't believe what she saw. The cities were still there, but they had been rebuilt completely. Buildings floated in the air without any visible support. Streets were made of light that carried people from place to place instantly. Gardens grew in impossible ways with plants that seemed to glow with their own inner light. "It's like a fairy tale," Amy Foster whispered from her station. They landed at what used to be called New York City, but the city now extended high into the sky and deep underground. Admiral Hayes met them at the landing area, along with other humans who had fought in the war against the void entities. When Nina stepped off her ship, she felt something strange. The air around Earth felt alive with energy. She could sense thoughts and emotions from the humans nearby, even though no one was speaking. "Welcome to New Earth," Admiral Hayes said. His voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, even though he was standing right in front of them. Dr. Rachel Stone approached the group. She had been Earth's lead scientist before the war, and now she looked like she was made of starlight. Her body was solid, but light moved through her skin like flowing water. "Dr. Stone," Pete Collins said, recognizing her from scientific conferences they had attended together. "What has happened to you?" Rachel smiled, and when she did, small stars seemed to twinkle in her eyes. "Dr. Collins, fighting the void entities, taught us that consciousness is not limited to physical bodies. We learned to expand our awareness beyond the boundaries of normal space and time. Ambassador Zeth-9's crystal body was glowing with curiosity. "Dr. Stone, how did you rebuild your entire civilization so quickly?" "When you can manipulate matter at the quantum level and work in multiple dimensions simultaneously, construction becomes much easier," Rachel explained. "We can think buildings into existence and shape matter with our minds." General Krex looked around at the floating buildings and light-based transportation. "This technology could revolutionize the galaxy. Will you share it with other races?" Admiral A. Hayes shook his head gently. "General, this isn't technology in the way you understand it. These abilities come from a fundamental change in human consciousness. We can teach others some techniques, but the transformation we underwent was specific to humanity's response to the void entities." Sergeant Danny Cooper joined their group. He looked mostly normal, but occasionally his body would become transparent, as if he existed in several places at once. "Sergeant Cooper," Jake said, "you look different each time I see you." Danny laughed. "Commander Harrison, I'm still getting used to existing in multiple dimensions. Sometimes I accidentally phase into parallel realities. It's taking practice to stay focused on this dimension." High Flyer Zara 3 had been flying around the city, observing everything with her keen bird-like eyes. She landed near the group and spoke with excitement. "The humans have children here who were born after the transformation. They are remarkable." A young girl, perhaps 8 years old, approached their group. She looked like a normal human child, except her eyes held the same universal depth as Admiral Hayes's eyes. "Hello," the girl said. "My name is Lucy Chen. I was born 3 weeks ago." Nina blinked in confusion. "3 weeks ago? But you look 8 years old." Lucy smiled. "Time works differently for us now. I can experience years of learning and growing in just a few days. But I still feel like a child inside." The girl reached out and touched Nina's hand. Suddenly, Nina could see brief glimpses of other dimensions. Vast spaces filled with colors that had no names, and creatures made of pure thought floating through impossible geometries. "Don't be afraid," Lucy said kindly. "I'm just showing you a little bit of what we can see now." Nina pulled her hand back, overwhelmed by the experience. That was incredible and terrifying. Unit Prime 7 scanned the area with its robot sensors. "Admiral Hayes, my equipment detects that every human on Earth now generates quantum energy fields. You have become an entirely new form of life." "That's correct," Admiral Hayes said. "Humanity has taken an evolutionary leap that normally would require millions of years. The void entities forced us to adapt or die, so we adapted in ways that surprised even us." Dr. Pete Collins asked the question that everyone was thinking. "What does this mean for the rest of the galaxy?" Rachel Stone answered, "It means the galaxy now has protectors who can defend against threats that exist beyond normal reality. We have detected other hostile entities in distant dimensions that may try to invade our universe someday." Admiral Hayes added, "But it also means that humanity can no longer live among other races the way we used to. Our mere presence now generates energy fields that can affect nearby matter and minds. We must be careful not to accidentally influence others." Nina felt sad hearing this. "So humans and aliens can't be friends anymore?" Lucy Chen spoke up. "Captain, Blake, we will always be friends with the other races. But now we must be friends from a distance, unless others choose to begin their own evolutionary transformation." General Krex was interested in this possibility. "Could other races undergo the same changes humans have experienced?" "It's possible," Rachel said, "but it would require facing the same kind of extreme threat that humanity faced. The transformation came from necessity, not choice." Ambassador Zeth-9 asked, "Will humanity spread to other star systems now?" Admiral Hayes nodded. "We are already beginning to explore dimensions beyond this one. There are entire universes that exist parallel to ours, and some of them need protection from entities like the void creatures." As the visit continued, the alien representatives saw more wonders. They met human artists who painted with light itself, creating artworks that existed in 4 dimensions. They saw human engineers who built machines by thinking them into existence. They watched human children play games that involved temporarily reshaping local reality. But through it all, Nina noticed that humans still laughed, still cried, still loved each other. Despite their incredible transformation, they remained human at heart. As the day ended, Admiral Hayes walked Nina back to her ship. "Captain Blake, I want you to know that humanity will never forget our friends who came to help us when Earth went silent." Nina smiled, though she felt like she was saying goodbye to humanity forever. "Admiral, we'll miss having humans among the stars with us." "We're not leaving the stars, Nina. We're just expanding into new kinds of stars. The ones that exist in dimensions you can't see yet, but we'll always be watching over our galactic family." Nina's ship lifted off from New Earth, carrying news of humanity's transformation back to the galaxy. Behind them, Earth glowed with new light, home to beings who were human in spirit but godlike in power. 6 months had passed since Earth's barrier fell, and humanity revealed their transformation. The galaxy was still trying to understand what it meant to have godlike beings as neighbors. Captain Nina Blake sat in her ship's meeting room with representatives from major alien governments. They had gathered to discuss how to interact with the new humanity. The meeting was taking place in space near Jupiter, where Admiral Hayes had agreed to meet them. "The problem," said Ambassador Zeth-9, his crystal body flickering with uncertainty, "is that we no longer understand what humans want or need. How do you negotiate with beings who can exist in multiple dimensions?" General Krex growled his agreement. "My military advisors are confused. How do we plan joint operations with allies? Who can teleport across the galaxy instantly?" High Flyer Zara 3 had a different concern. "Our trade relationships have completely changed. Humans no longer need the goods we used to sell them. They can create matter from energy using their minds." Unit Prime 7 processed these concerns with its robot logic. The fundamental question is whether transformed humans still consider themselves part of galactic civilization, or if they have moved beyond such concepts. Nina looked out the window at Jupiter. The planet had new rings around it that definitely hadn't been there before. Admiral Hayes had mentioned that humans were using Jupiter as a dimensional anchor point for their explorations of parallel universes. "Admiral Hayes is here," Dr. Frank Miller announced from his communication station. Instead of arriving in a ship, Admiral Hayes simply appeared in the meeting room. His presence made the air shimmer with energy, and everyone could feel the weight of his expanded consciousness. "Friends," Admiral Hayes said, and his voice seemed to carry echoes from other dimensions, "thank you for agreeing to this meeting. We understand that our transformation has created confusion." Nina spoke first. "Admiral, the main question everyone has is simple. Are humans still part of the galactic community?" Admiral Hayes smiled, and when he did, brief images of other worlds flashed in the air around him. "Captain Blake, humanity values our relationships with all galactic races more than ever, but we must interact differently now." Dr. Rachel Stone materialized beside Admiral Hayes. Her form was more stable than before, but stars still moved slowly through her translucent skin. "Let me explain what we've discovered," Rachel said. "When we gained the ability to perceive multiple dimensions, we also gained knowledge of threats that none of us previously knew existed." She gestured, and a 3-dimensional map appeared. In the air above the table, it showed the galaxy, but also layers of reality stacked on top of each other like transparent sheets. "This is what we see now," Rachel continued. "Our galaxy exists in many dimensions simultaneously. Most beings can only perceive one dimension, but threats can come from any of the others." Ambassador Zeth-9 studied the map. "Are you saying there are dangers we cannot even detect?" "Exactly," Admiral Hayes confirmed. "The void entities were just one type of interdimensional threat. We have detected parasitic entities that attach themselves to starships, energy vampires that drain the life from entire solar systems, and reality viruses that can rewrite the laws of physics in small areas. General Krex's reptilian eyes widened. And humanity is protecting the galaxy from all of these threats? We are learning to, Admiral Hayes said, but we need the galactic community's help in a different way than before. Nina leaned forward. What kind of help? Rachel Stone answered, We need you to be our anchor to normal reality. When humans spend too much time in other dimensions, we risk losing touch with our original nature. Contact with other races helps us remember who we used to be. Dr. Pete Collins, who had been listening quietly, asked, Are you saying that without us, you might stop being human entirely? It's a real danger, Admiral Hayes admitted. Some of our people have become so fascinated with exploring other dimensions that they rarely return to normal space. We call them the far travelers. They're still human in spirit, but they're becoming something else. Unit Prime 7 found this concerning. Admiral Hayes, are you asking us to help keep humanity human? In a way, yes, Admiral Hayes said. We want to maintain relationships with our old friends. We want human children to grow up knowing about the races we used to live among. We want to preserve the curiosity and friendship that made humanity special in the first place. High Flyer Zara 3 had been thinking about practical matters. Admiral, if humans no longer need traditional trade goods, how can our civilizations continue to interact? Rachel Stone smiled. We've thought about that. While we can create basic matter, we cannot create new ideas, art, or cultural experiences. We would love to continue exchanging music, stories, and scientific discoveries with all galactic races. Additionally, Admiral Hayes added, we can offer services that no other race can provide. If any civilization faces interdimensional threats, we can help. If anyone wants to explore parallel realities safely, we can guide them. General Krex saw military possibilities. Could humans help us improve our defenses against threats we cannot detect? Absolutely, Admiral Hayes said. We can teach your scientists to build sensors that detect interdimensional intrusions. We can train your military officers to recognize reality distortions that might indicate hostile entities. Ambassador Zeth-9's crystal body began glowing with excitement. This could revolutionize galactic security. Nina had another question. Admiral, what about humans who didn't transform? Are there any normal humans left? Admiral Hayes's expression became sad. All humans on Earth underwent some level of transformation during the war with the void entities. However, humans living on distant colonies were not affected. They remain as they were before. But those colonial humans are now different from Earth humans, Rachel added. They cannot visit Earth because our energy fields would automatically begin transforming them. And we cannot visit the colonies without accidentally triggering their evolution. Dr. Frank Miller had been monitoring communications. Admiral, I'm detecting transmissions from one of your far travelers. Should I put it through? Admiral Hayes nodded. Yes, let's show our friends what we're dealing with. A voice came through the communication system, but it sounded like it was speaking from incredibly far away, even though the signal was strong. This is Sarah Kim, currently exploring the 7th parallel. I have discovered a universe where mathematics works differently. The number 3 comes after 7, and gravity pushes instead of pulls. It's fascinating, but I'm having trouble remembering what normal reality feels like. Admiral Hayes spoke into the communicator. Sarah, return to Earth immediately. Spend time with the anchor teams. I will try, Admiral, but I've been existing as pure thought for 3 months now. Returning to physical form is becoming difficult. The transmission ended, leaving the meeting room silent. That, Admiral Hayes said quietly, is why we need your help. We must not lose our humanity while gaining these new abilities. Nina understood now. You want us to be your connection to who you used to be. Exactly. Regular interaction with other galactic races will help us maintain our human identity while we explore our new capabilities. General Krex stood up. Then let us formalize this arrangement. The Galactic Council will establish permanent diplomatic relations with transformed humanity. Ambassador Zeth 9 agreed. We will create cultural exchange programs and scientific collaboration projects. Unit Prime 7 added, My people will help develop the interdimensional sensors you mentioned. As the meeting ended, Nina felt hopeful for the first time since Earth had gone silent. Humanity had changed beyond recognition, but they still wanted to be part of the galactic family. The relationship would be different, but it would continue. Admiral Hayes prepared to leave. Thank you, all of you. With your help, humanity can become the guardians the galaxy needs while remaining the friends you once knew. He disappeared, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air and the promise of a strange, new future for the galaxy. 2 years had passed since the galaxy learned to live with transformed humanity. The new alliance between humans and alien races had proven successful in ways no one had expected. Captain Nina Blake stood on the observation deck of the newly built interdimensional research station. The station floated in space between Earth and Mars, serving as a meeting place where humans and aliens could work together safely. The station was a marvel of combined technology. Human consciousness-based engineering created the basic structure by reshaping matter with thought, while alien scientists added traditional technology to make it comfortable for non-transformed beings. Captain Blake, called Dr. Pete Collins as he approached her. Pete now served as the station's chief science officer. The morning briefing is about to begin. Nina nodded and followed Pete to the main conference room. These daily briefings had become essential for coordinating the galaxy's new defense network. Admiral Hayes materialized in the room, along with Dr. Rachel Stone and several other transformed humans. They had learned to maintain more stable physical forms during meetings with aliens, though their eyes still held depths that contained entire universes. Good morning, everyone, Admiral Hayes said. Let's begin with the threat assessment. Dr. Rachel Stone activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy in multiple dimensions. We've detected 3 new interdimensional intrusions this week. 2 were minor reality parasites that we eliminated before they could cause damage. The third was more concerning. She highlighted a section of space near the Andromeda Galaxy. An entity we call a Dimension Eater has appeared. It consumes entire dimensional layers, leaving normal space unchanged, but removing all the hidden realities that exist parallel to it. Ambassador Zeth 9, who now permanently resided on the station, flickered with worry. What would happen if this entity reached our galaxy? All interdimensional travel would become impossible, Admiral Hayes explained. The parallel universes where we store excess energy and conduct our explorations would simply cease to exist. General Krex, attending the meeting via hologram from his home world, growled with concern. Can humans stop this entity? We believe so, Dr. Rachel Stone said. But it will require a coordinated effort involving both human abilities and traditional galactic technology. Nina was curious about the details. What kind of coordination? Admiral Hayes gestured, and the holographic display changed to show a complex battle plan. The Dimension Eater can only be destroyed by simultaneous attacks in multiple realities. Humans will attack it in the parallel dimensions, while alien fleets attack its anchor points in normal space. Unit Prime 7, whose robot body had been upgraded with interdimensional sensors, processed this information. Admiral Hayes, my calculations indicate this will be the largest military operation in galactic history. That's correct, Admiral Hayes confirmed. We'll need every race in the galaxy to participate. High Flyer Zara 3 flew into the room through one of the special portals designed for her bird-like people. Admiral, my scouts have been monitoring the entity's movement. It will reach the edge of our galaxy in approximately 6 months. Dr. Pete Collins reviewed the technical aspects of the plan. The alien fleets will need to be equipped with the new quantum disruptors that human engineers designed. These weapons can affect matter in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Nina studied the battle plan. Admiral, how many humans will need to participate in the interdimensional attack? Nearly all of us, Admiral Hayes admitted. This entity is so large that it exists across hundreds of parallel realities simultaneously. We'll need to coordinate attacks in all of them at exactly the same moment. Dr. Rachel Stone added, "This will be dangerous for us. If we fail, many humans could become trapped in collapsing dimensions." Ambassador Zeth 9's crystal body glowed with determination. "Then we must ensure you do not fail. What do you need from us?" "Anchor teams," Admiral Hayes said. "We need alien telepaths linked to every human fighter. If we become lost in parallel dimensions, you must guide us home." General Krex was surprised. Aliens serving as psychic anchors for humans? Is such a thing possible? Dr. Rachel Stone nodded. "We've been developing this technique for 2 years. It requires telepathic beings to form mental connections with transformed humans. The aliens serve as beacons in normal reality," Nina volunteered immediately. "I'll serve as an anchor." "Captain Blake," Admiral Hayes said gently, "anchor duty is extremely dangerous for non-transformed beings. The mental strain of maintaining contact with someone existing in multiple dimensions can cause permanent psychological damage." "I understand the risks," Nina replied firmly. "Humans took risks to protect the galaxy. Now it's our turn to take risks to help humans." Over the following months, the galaxy prepared for the greatest battle in its history. Shipyards worked around the clock to build vessels equipped with quantum disruptors. Telepathic species trained to serve as anchor teams. Military forces from every race practiced coordinated attacks. Nina underwent intensive training to become an anchor for Admiral Hayes himself. The process involved learning to keep her mind connected to his while he existed in multiple realities simultaneously. "Remember," Dr. Rachel Stone told Nina during a training session, "Admiral Hayes will experience time differently in parallel dimensions. Minutes for you might feel like hours or days for him. You must maintain the connection no matter what you experience through the link." The training was exhausting. When Nina practiced linking with Admiral Hayes, she caught glimpses of the strange realities he could perceive. She saw universes where space was purple and time flowed backward, dimensions where thoughts had physical weight, and realms where music created solid matter. "It's overwhelming," Nina told Pete after one particularly intense session. "The humans live with this constantly now," Pete reminded her. "No wonder they need anchors to remember normal reality." Finally, the day of the battle arrived. The combined galactic fleet assembled at the edge of the galaxy, while transformed humans prepared to enter parallel dimensions. Nina sat in a special chair designed to maintain her connection with Admiral Hayes. Around her, hundreds of other aliens prepared to serve as anchors for human fighters. "All anchor teams, prepare for connection," Dr. Rachel Stone announced. Nina felt Admiral Hayes's consciousness touch her mind. Suddenly, she could perceive multiple realities layered on top of each other like transparent sheets. The sensation was disorienting but amazing. "Nina," Admiral Hayes's voice came through their mental link, "thank you for being my anchor to home." "Just come back safely, Robert," Nina replied through the connection. The battle began simultaneously across hundreds of dimensions. Through her link with Admiral Hayes, Nina experienced the fight against the Dimension Eater. The entity was vast beyond comprehension, existing as a hungry void that consumed entire layers of reality. Human fighters attacked the creature in dimensions, where physics worked differently. Some fought it in realms made of pure mathematics, others in realities where emotions had physical form. Admiral Hayes led a team through a dimension where time moved in spirals instead of straight lines. Meanwhile, the alien fleets attacked the entity's anchor points in normal space. The quantum disruptors worked exactly as designed, weakening the creatures hold on regular reality. The battle lasted for hours, but through the dimensional link, Nina experienced days of fighting. She watched Admiral Hayes adapt to dozens of different realities, each with its own rules and dangers. Finally, the coordinated attack succeeded. The Dimension Eater collapsed as its anchor points were destroyed and its interdimensional forms were eliminated. The entity dissolved across all realities, leaving only empty space where it had been. "Target eliminated," Admiral Hayes reported, as he returned to normal space. All human fighters returning to home dimension. Nina felt the mental link fade as Admiral Hayes fully returned to regular reality. She was exhausted, but triumphant. "We did it," she whispered. Admiral Hayes materialized beside her chair. "Nina, you and all the anchor teams saved us. Without your guidance, many of us would have been lost in collapsing dimensions." Dr. Rachel Stone addressed the entire fleet. "The Dimension Eater has been destroyed. This victory proves that transformed humans and traditional galactic races can work together to face any threat." General Krex's voice came through the communication system. "Today, we have all become stronger. Humans gained the power to protect reality itself, and the rest of us learned to help them do it." As the combined fleet celebrated their victory, Nina realized that the galaxy had truly adapted to its new reality. Humans had become godlike guardians of multiple dimensions, but they remained connected to their origins through friendship with other races. The galaxy was safe, and the alliance between transformed humanity and traditional alien civilizations had proven that even the most impossible challenges could be overcome through cooperation. Admiral Hayes looked at Nina with gratitude. "Captain Blake, humanity may have evolved beyond recognition, but our friendships with people like you keep us grounded in who we used to be." Nina smiled. "And knowing that you're out there protecting us from threats we can't even imagine helps us sleep peacefully." The galaxy had learned to live with gods among them, and somehow it worked perfectly.